giving you a voice,
making it loud our own way.
Welcome to the fun.
If you're on an FRC or FTC team and you're currently meeting safely in person and have a functional robot, we'd love to have you on our Behind the Bots or Behind the Bumper segments. Go ahead and reach out to us on any of our social channels, on Discord, or send us an email at admin@FirstUpdatesNow.com, and let's get your team scheduled to be on First Updates Now. You can also directly support Fun by joining Fun Nation. Click the join button, and just for a few bucks a month, you'll unlock special perks and directly support us so we can keep making great content.
Now it's the time that you've all been waiting for, the March FTC Top 25. Since many more teams have posted scores online, for the first time, we're going to be using a composite score, which takes into account the community's vote along with the OPR of the team to determine the ranking. So it's going to be 50-50 weighted based on the community vote and the OPR of the team, and that's going to determine what rank the teams earn. And with that being said, let's get into the number 25 seed.
So to kick off our top 25, we've got team 12533 INCEPTION from Austin, Texas. INCEPTION is one of those teams that have a very simple but elegant design this year, and I think it's definitely worked really well to their favor. They have a very simple U-shooter design and have a simple arm as their wobble goal grabber. This very simple yet effective design helps them have very consistent shots throughout teleop, as well as a really fast intake system and minimal opportunities for jamming. I also really loved how clean their autonomous is and how it's able to contribute to their very high scores.
Yeah, their auto is like what? Like they drive and then shoot at the same time, and then it hits two, and then it's just an amazing autonomous overall. Like I did not think I'd see that this year. Like it's hitting two while driving. Super impressive.
Yep. Want to move on to the next team?
Yeah. In 24th is team 12599 Overcharged from Portland, Oregon. Overcharged is a team that hits hard every year, and this year is no exception. This was one of the first robots I saw with crazy lightning fast shooting with the Lindexer design. Because they're pass-through, they don't score quite as high as other robots in the top 25 because of remote events. But this is one of those robots I could be terrified of in person because of their fast six-wheel drive and polished path-through design.
Yeah, I've really liked what Overcharged and Revamped have done with that linkage system to feed all their rings. They get a really fast shooting rate out of it. And so many teams are doing the front style intake where they're picking up from the front and then shooting out the front. Picking up from the back is going to be useful during these remote events or during in-person events because you get in the way of those rings rolling between the robot and the stack, and that shuts down anybody that's a front intaker. And so I'm going to be really interested to see. That's why I'm so excited about MTI this year, right? It could be the first place where we see super competitive 2v2s. Yes, we've seen some 2v2s happen in Georgia, now in Wisconsin, but I think at MTI, we're really going to see some really cool strategies come out. So really excited for that. Taking the 23 spot is team 6133, the Nuts from Cincinnati, Ohio. They've been a top team for years, and this year they got a super minimalistic bot with a quick intake and accurate shooter. They're scoring above 250 in almost all their matches and breaking 300 in a lot of them. They scored a high score of 360 points at the Vermont State Championship, and I can't wait to see how they do in the Ohio State Championship. So this is, I think, their 360 match. Again, they're just super quick at letting the rings come to them and then firing them. They shoot at that weird angle, and that optimizes them for blue because then they can just sit in one spot and not have to do anything. I don't know if you saw anything else with that team.
Yeah, I think it's just a very consistent trend that the teams that are scoring the highest are usually just staying in that same kind of location and just being able to go barely move around just to adjust and pick up rings, but then just shoot from that same spot every time. And I think they've really mastered that strategy, especially on the blue side, as you can see in the video.
So the OPR was taken yesterday from FTC stats. I do believe that one event uploaded scores today. So those scores were not counted as a part of the OPR that we are looking at on the screen, which is why they might differentiate themselves from the FTC stats website.
Okay.
All right. Brooks, want to move on?
Yeah, I'll go into it. And 22nd is 18255 Stealth Robotics from Algonquin, Illinois. This robot is so well refined, it's just beautiful to look at. Their 120-point autonomous looks super consistent, and their strategy of blocking 3 rings, turning around, and shooting them makes 350+ scores look easy. It definitely looks like there is some auto aiming going on for shooting and power shots too, which is always a nice thing to see. What do you guys think about them?
I mean, 387 to be a 22nd seed with a score of 387, that's pretty impressive to me. Really like how they got like that squiggly surgical tubing intake. It seems to pick up the rings really well. And then they've got that little bar to knock over the rings in case there are stacked. I've seen so many teams get jammed up on the stacks of rings. But overall, solid bot. Asha, you see anything?
Yeah, I definitely think that their bar is something that's unique to them. I've seen a lot of teams use arms on the sides and things like that, but I feel like having an additional bar to knock down the rings that are rolling in, as well as to clear out that starter stack, are definitely two things that contribute to their high scoring. And again, their tally up cycles are just insane. It's crazy to look at.
Yep. All right. In the 21st spot, we got Team 6165, the MSET Cuttlefish. This robot is optimized really well, and their drivetrain just flies. They've got a really large intake and large pickup area for wobble goals, making it easy for them to score. They scored 366 points in mid-February, so I can't wait to see how they're able to come up to score in upcoming competitions. I really think that they're going to be able to break 400 with a spot. It's just a matter of getting down the practice and getting those rings blocked. Like they've got a solid robot here.
Yeah, same. I could definitely see them bringing 400. I also think that they're like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're the first team to come out with the sticks design, which everybody promptly copied. So their route design definitely influenced a lot of strategy going forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think their scoring strategy in general, just blocking off the rings and keeping the rings in front of them, is something that we've seen been repeated throughout our top 25 list, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more from them.
All right, I'll go into number 20th. And 20th is 11039, the Innovators from Fremont, California. To start off, it looks like they redesigned most of their robot, going from a pass-through in December to a same-side bot now. Their auto is slightly inconsistent because they typically miss one ring in auto, but the randomization certainly is not. There's been some controversy whether they legitimately got 6-4 stacks in a row, especially with paper-based scoring, while using the practice match timer. Other than that, they get super consistent scores, with their highest being 356 and their lowest being 333. What do you guys think of Innovators?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of controversy from them as well, from the 6-4 stacks in a row. Especially, I've watched a ton of matches through Chesapeake, and randomization is generally not 4 stacks. Not saying that they didn't get it 4 stacks every single time, just a little suspicious. Overall, I really like their intake, though. Their intake with the lift and then drop into the bucket seems super cool. Anything else, Ashray?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Their intake was one thing that really stood out to me. But in general, I feel like the robot design is very sleek and just seems to work really well. I mean, it's definitely putting up really high scores. And yeah. So next up on our list, in the 19th spot, we have Team 7244 Out of the Box Robotics from Thorndale, Pennsylvania. Out of the Box consistently builds very clean looking robots and consistently performing robots every year, and this year is definitely no exception. The robot is one of the most unique designs that I've seen so far, with a massive funneling intake in the front, followed by a simple U-style shooter at the top and back of the robot. They use a crazy number of wheels all across their intake, but it's definitely well worth it. They're able to suck in rings insanely fast, and their shooter launches them at insane speeds as well. I'm kind of concerned about that 16-foot limit. They also have 2 arms to block the rings on the sides, and also have a very nice and unique forklift-style wobble goal mover as well.
So watching the robot, I wouldn't actually be concerned about the 16-foot limit. It seems like their rings are shooting a lot faster than they are because they're shooting them in such quick succession. But if you watch the ring arc, it's actually curving down by the time it gets to the goal, which makes me believe that it wouldn't go 16 feet. Overall, I love the robot for no other reason than it's tall, right? It's not going to be able to get blocked in a competition, right? So they don't have to lift the rings as much when they're shooting, so that's reducing the power on it. Plus, they can't get blocked in the real competition. I really think that this is one of the top robots when we go into in-person matches.
Yeah, this is like one of those robots, one of the few robots I saw, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that idea? It's just so elegant to intake and have all those omnis vector it up. It's just one of the most elegant robots here.
Yeah, I think one thing I forgot to add earlier is that they actually have, if I remember correctly, I think they have 2 wobble movers. One is for their autonomous period when they start off the matches, and the other is for their end game when they want to lift it up over the wall. So I thought that was also a very unique scoring strategy.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
All right. NorCal is really showing up with the 18th spot, and team 17759 Mind. They scored above 300 points in every single one of their matches at the Fremont 2 qualifier in late February and averaged 328.7 points per match. They've got a quick shooting rate as well as a nice intake. Lots of polycarb lets you see into it. And they're pretty accurate. They're able to hit the power shots over real fast. I think they've got a really solid robot here, and it's simple. Like you see a lot of teams think that they have to build like a really complex robot with different ways to control the rings. This one's a real simple. It loads it into a hopper, lifts the hopper on an angle, and then it fires them. And it's using mostly Go Build and Actibotics parts from what I can tell. So overall, a really good video.
Yeah,
I definitely.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So yeah, it's one of the robots on this list that you can tell is probably like free build, lots of bare metal, lots of kit parts, but like they definitely use it well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they swapped out a lot of stuff, made sure it's super optimized. Looks clean.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think this is one of the robots that definitely proves the concept that you don't need, tons of fancy equipment and all these customized parts to make your robot perform really well. Just with a lot of out-of-the-box parts, you're making it score so high. So it definitely shows that across all their matches. And that actually takes us to our next team. In the number 17 spot, we have team 8947 Tectonics from Cary, North Carolina. Now, at first glance, you're probably wondering, how on earth did this team get into the top 25? Now, I mean, their robot looks like it's just a drivetrain straight out of a kit. But the truth is, they're able to intake rings that are coming at them vertically, so that they're able to do that so quickly that they're able to instantly intake the rings and shoot them out into the high goal just almost instantly. Their very unique scoring strategy makes it so that they don't have to run around and pick up rings in cycles of 3, but instead they just stay in one spot and just barely move their robot at all, just consistently scoring those rings. And as you can see in the video, they're able to score 56 rings in teleop, which is just insane. Now, I'm very interested to see how this kind of a robot would compete in a 2v2 or 1v1 kind of setting, and especially how they would adapt their robot to if they're on the opposite side alliance. I thought that was also another interesting thing, because since their intake's on the right side of the robot, I think.
Yeah, we talked about this video last time when we had Aperture Science on. They apparently got this robot built in like a week or 2, but there were some suspicious things about their video. Like they have 2 hands in the back of the human parachute, which lets them cycle rings faster. But talking to the team, they did have a legal chute, a return rack. So the rings coming out was the official Andy Mark return rack. Overall, solid design. I don't know how well it would work in an in-person competition. It works well for remote, and so that works for them. All right, want to move on to the next one, Brooks? Oh, no, that's me. Never mind. Just missing out on the top 15 is team 12635. Curiosity Robotics. They've been in our top 25 since December, even though they haven't competed since December, according to the Orange Alliance. The robot is quick, efficient, accurate, and their black and red color scheme is HAWT hot. I don't know what else to say about them. They've been in this top 25 every single time, so I sound like a broken record talking about them. Really cool design. I want to see how they do now. Like, if they were able to score 321 back then, which is still considered to be a fairly good score, right? That's the average score that a lot of these top teams are scoring in a competition. I want to see, can they break 400? Can they break 500? Have they made changes to the robot? So really excited to see them. I think they're going to be competing soon in North California.
Yeah, I definitely don't have anything to add. I feel like you really said it all. They have a really fast intaking mechanism, and I really want to see more about what they've changed. And when their next competitions are.
All right. So now I'll go into 15th. And 15th is 9794 WIZARDS.EXE from Rockville, Maryland. Wizards has a unique robot with wide dual intakes and a bottom wobble goal grabber. Not to mention, they're one of the few powerhouse teams this year we actually get to see with another robot on the field. They were able to get the Chesapeake hybrid record of 380 points with 10-5-1-5 extreme voltage. I would say they know how to play the game well in person, with their auto aim allowing them to shoot on the side, allowing other robots to shoot from the center, which is easier to line up manually. I think you can see a few points in which both of the robots are shooting at the same time. It's just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, and I can speak to that. We practiced with them right before the competition. In practice, we were able to break 470, and it was just crazy how well the teams were able to work together. I think one of the best things about the robot is that their shooter shoots more from the center side, and shoots like kind of an angle, which allows their partner to be able to shoot directly in front of the goals. So I think their scoring strategy and the amount of driver practice they've done is just insane, and that helps them become one of the top 15 teams here.
Yeah, talking to them and watching them a lot of the practice that they've gone into is shooting from that angle, because all of their competitions after their first competition were in person. They wanted to get good at shooting at that angle, and they do have an auto aim system that does let them shoot from the back. They do prefer this one spot where they're shooting at that angle from, but they're capable of shooting from anywhere on the field. So really cool robot. I'm really happy with how it turned out for them. All right, want to move on to the next one?
Yep. So all the way from Portland, Oregon, in the 14th spot, we have team 12808 Revamped Robotics. These guys have just been ranking really well, even at the World Championship level, every single year for the past few years now, and they're just as good this year. Revamp does it all. They have a crazy fast intake, which instantly flattens the rings and sucks them in, and they have a very consistent and fast shooter as well, and just some great driving to go along with it. Their really fast cycle time allows them to consistently cross 300-point scores and definitely earns them the spot in our top 25.
Yeah, they definitely changed their design since we last saw it. Last time they had that linkage mechanism, and we saw a little bit of that. That seemed to go to overcharge. I haven't necessarily taken a look at this one as much, but it looks like it's like a solid like surgical tubing intake. Again, a back pickup, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, especially when they go in person.
Yeah, like their intake is almost beautiful to watch. Like any ring, any scenario, it just takes it in, and then they just go back and forth super fast. Like I think this is a really good contender for one of the best best pass-through robots this year. It's just so great to watch.
Yeah, Brooks, you want to take us on to the 13th?
Of course. And 13th is 16461 Infinite Turtles from Matthews, North Carolina. They were a powerhouse team in North Carolina this year, which is saying a lot. They have a beautiful robot with accurate shooting, quick intaking, and great maneuverability around the field. In remote, their high score was 348 points. They were also able to do an unofficial hybrid with 9548 highly combustible, in which they broke 400 points. It looks like they mesh really well into hybrid events, with them shooting rings up front and their alliance partner cleaning up any that get to the back. Overall, they were super refined and highly competitive this season.
Yeah, really like this team. They're green. I think that's probably CNC'd or waterjet. Aluminum side panels definitely keep them protected, but again, they're a little bit of a shorter robot. Hopefully they'll be able to shoot over a bot, but it's the metabot, right? Like this is almost the epitome of a metabot with the back intake. Cool robot design though.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think they just have they have one of those things which is just a very fast cycle time. And I think that's just key to having successful and really high scores this year. So I'll move us on to number 12. And in the number 12 spot, we have team 7321 Charlotte Surge from Punta Gorda, Florida. This is another one of those teams that has a very simple robot design and just a crazy fast intake, accurate and consistent shooting, as well as just great driving abilities. Their really fast cycles helped them score 450 points, and they set a Florida state record with that. These guys have just been doing an amazing job at being able to stay right in front of the goal and just minimizing the amount that the robot has to move throughout the match. What do you guys think?
Yeah, they've been
just
they've been climbing through
ahead.
the ranks in Florida. They've been climbing through the ranks in Florida like all season long. Like every meet, they just a little bit better, a little bit better. And this time it's like shroomp, best team in Florida, ranked best in the world. Like they definitely nailed it with this robot. Like the shooting is super accurate. They just go back and forth super consistently. And I think they have the highest OPR for auto as well, which is super impressive. They hit the 2 power shots at once in auto. Amazing robot.
Yeah, so looking at FTC's stats, we did have some issues with the OPR. They are ranked 23rd, 423-point average. They're one of 3 teams averaging above 400 points, and they do have the highest auto OPR with 114 points per match because of that double power shot auto. So really cool team here. I think they're part of the Tarpons community. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brooks. Like that.
I think they are.
Teams, that group of teams have been powerhouses since before I joined FTC. So really cool to see that school, I believe, carry out some of its prestige.
Hey guys, I'll just jump in here for a second. So obviously there's something different in the OPR from either what we pulled or a sort was different or something like that. So we'll really look at this afterwards. Enjoy the teams as they are right now. There's not a lot we can do about it live, but we just want to say, we acknowledge what's going on with that. We'll probably re-release a list after the show, but as of right now, there's really nothing we can do about it. So we're just going to keep moving forward. So enjoy the show as is, and then, like I said, we'll retake a look afterwards. But this was cached from the site yesterday, so I don't know if for some weird reason a bunch of stuff updated or if we had an error on our end, but we'll make sure it gets right. So appreciate your patience.
I'll go to number 11th then. And 11th is 18275, SUBZERO from Mason, Ohio. SUBZERO is a very fast on the field with their highly optimized robot as a whole. They're also one of the few teams on this list who seem to have their human player putting backspin on the rings so that they can pick them up from the front of the field pretty easily. Their high score from their last event in early February was 348 points. And that was on a 0 stack with an unfortunate power shot swinging back to unscored in auto. I think that with more auto tuning, this team can quickly climb the ranks. What do you guys think about them?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like they have a really fast cycle time, and their auto obviously had some mishaps, but I really think that these are one of the robots that, with some more driver practice and with some more auto tuning, just with the robot they have, they can probably cross 400. And I'm just looking forward to seeing more from them in the Ohio States coming up.
Yeah, Ohio is turning out to be pretty competitive this year as well. We had Antidote on our last top 25. Now, in this top 25, we had the Nuts and SUBZERO. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams improve from the last competition they've had. We had a lot of earlier qualifiers, but now we have a lot of later ones to compare to. So it'll definitely be one interesting event. Before we get into our top 10, we've got a sponsor spot from Stryker. Tyler, could you play the sponsor spot?
Yeah, actually, a couple things I just want to talk about real quick, and we'll get to Stryker in just a second. But it is coming up towards the end of the month, and we do still have our Fun Future Educator Scholarship available. That application deadline is due at the end of the month. So if you or any of your friends are looking to be future educators or in college or anything like that, we have 2 scholarships to give away. They're both at about $1,000 a piece. So please make sure you apply at FIRSTUPDATESNOW.com/FES21. And of course, we're still accepting donations for that. If you're interested, as the whatever the community donates just increases the amount for it. So we hope you have an opportunity to go check that out. And once again, if you're an educator, we'd love to have you apply for this, or if you're looking to be an educator for that as well. So yeah, appreciate everybody who has donated to that, and can't wait to read some awesome submissions at the end of this month. And then of course, yeah, big shout out to Stryker, who is supporting the stream. Really has been the lifeblood for us during COVID to make sure we can keep making content for you. So make sure you check them out at Stryker.com or careers.stryker.com. They are looking for interns and co-ops coming up. And they are straight up looking for people who are in FIRST or who have been in FIRST or FIRST alumni. I just brought up on their page like some of the stuff they do, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of a sucker occasionally for watching like live crime, that sort of used to be Live PD used to be around, not anymore, but they have shows where they go and rescue people, that sort of thing. And there's I tell you, every single time if you look, you will see a striker cart in every single ambulance that you see and that sort of thing. So it's really cool to see that. This other resuscitation machine that's right next to the emergency response resuscitation isn't a show that I watch. And so every single time I see it, I'm just like, wow, it's crazy to see how much striker stuff is out there that you don't think about, and really how they're making a huge difference out there. And like I said, they're big supporters of FIRST, big supporters in you. So go check them out at careers.stryker.com to learn more.
Great. And on to our top 10. Taking the number 10 spot is Team 8300, the Fire Eagles from Shelby, North Carolina. This team just keeps on improving with a much faster and accurate shooter compared to last time. They ranked second in OPR at the North Carolina State Championship, and it's clear how much they've optimized their bot to score high. Even with their high score only being 354 points, and that's only with double quotes, getting 354 points is not easy. They're extremely consistent, leading them to be in the top 10. Overall, like, we've seen them in every single top 25 since December, but every single time they keep on improving, right? And that's what we love to see from teams, right? They keep on iterating, and that's what I think is a big thing for FTC teams, because FRC doesn't have a bag anymore, but when FRC did have a bag, one of the differences was FTC teams just keep iterating and working on perfecting, and I really like how they've really taken on that challenge. Anything else you guys have?
Now you said it pretty well. Like they're again similar to Curiosity Robotics. They're one of the teams that have been always on this list. Always stuff to talk about each time. But I think you hit it pretty well that they're always iterating. We saw them from the early world records, and then here at they have their auto power shots, what they probably did. Yeah, just some team that always consistently iterates.
Yeah, you guys took the words right out of my mouth. I don't really have anything to add for them. So I'll move us on to number 9. So in the number 9 spot, we have team 10435, the Circuit Breakers from Waukee, Iowa. The Circuit Breakers always have great robots, and this year is definitely no exception. Since the very start of the year, they've set a world record, a former world record of 360 points, and that was with just a one-ring randomization. Now, I haven't seen any action from them since December, but they've stayed in our top 25, so clearly they're doing something right.
So they just released a video. Just want to let you know. They just released a 420-point video. It's a very similar robot, but just more optimized.
Yep. So, again, they have a really nice U-shooter kind of design, and they have a very simple intake mechanism and transfer. So they have one of those meta bots, which are just performing really, really well on the field. They also have flaps on their intake. I think they're surgical tubing based, and it just allows them to flatten the rings really quickly and just get the rings into their robot. And again, I think their driver practice also plays into their really consistently high scores. So
yeah, solid robot, and it's their driver practice. They've always been some of the best drivers in FTC, and they've always had like a pretty simple bot to drive it around. And we're going to see a couple more simple bots coming up, but amazing drivers. So want to move us on to number 8.
Yeah, so taking 8th is team 14341, HYPERCUBE Robotics from San Jose, California. I absolutely love this team's robot. Overall, I think it's a super elegant design. They have dual intakes, which already sets their robot apart, but they also seem to have a turreting wobble grabber. I thought that was pretty cool. They had super consistent scores too, averaging about 357 points each match. It looks like they had a few moments where their cycles got interrupted by perhaps mechanical or software function, so this team's scores can still definitely reach even higher heights.
Yep, it definitely looks like a solid robot. Really like that their wobble goal seems like it's on the side, which is definitely an interesting approach because it lets them grab it and then still face the same direction to shoot. But overall, a solid team.
yeah, I got to say the wobble mover on the turret was definitely one of the coolest things I've seen on a robot this year. And I don't think I've seen any other robot like it do that kind of a thing with their wobble. But yeah, overall, I mean, again, just the consistent cycle times and the really fast intake system helps them reach that top 10s kind of spot.
And again, another North Cal team, right? We're seeing a lot of NorCal teams. I think last time we saw a lot of North Carolina teams and a couple of other teams from another region, but a lot of California teams here. So really exciting to see that region really popping up.
Yep, and continuing on with the theme of NorCal, in number 7, we have team 18219 Primitive Data from Piedmont, California. Now, personally, I absolutely just love their robot. The aesthetics of all black are just so clean, and the turret design just makes it infinitely better. Since the start of the season, they've had one of the best and most consistent turret mechanisms, and since then, they've only become better. Their really fast turret and intaking mechanism helps them score very, very fast and consistent cycles. And I think they now hit a world record, or their personal best of 392 points solo, and have become one of the top scoring teams in the world.
Yeah, I mean, they rebuilt their robot, and it's clear to see how they've improved their robot. One of the cool things that's small but subtle that I really like that they've done, in their initial turret design, they just lifted the ring straight up, and then they would just fire the rings, and then there would be like a plate that angled it into the shooter. Now what they've done is they lift it up and then angle the rings, which then put it at the same angle as the shooter, which allows them to be a lot more efficient and a lot more consistent when it comes to their shooting. So definitely really like some of the changes they've made. They've also pocketed their entire robot, so I'm assuming it's lighter and faster in every which way. All right, just missing out on the top 5 is Team 6323, the pink team. I didn't think they could improve this much since we last saw them, but by adding a zip tie on a servo to block rings, they're now able to score more than 400 points. They've got the 7th highest OPR in the world, averaging 349.7, and they, at their last meet, they're going to compete at the Florida State Championship. Brooks can probably talk more about this. Really excited to see them against some of the other Florida teams that have been ranking high.
Yeah. So ever since we added sticks, it's like, holy cow, it's amazing now because you can just sit up front and collect the rings. I think that was a cool strategy we implemented. There's still like so much we're optimizing even still. Like I really think that we can get some really high ring counts in upcoming events because now that we have our strategy set and like our auto pretty much done, we're just spending everything on tweaking every little thing we can, and I think it's gonna pay off soon.
So someone in chat said you trashed the sticks and the robot is different now with crazy intake. Is that right, Brooks?
Yeah, we did trash the sticks, but that was because it's just feels kind of bulky to have the sticks on the robot for driving purposes. If you just take them off and you're really careful about putting your robot in a spot where the rings tend to come out, then it just feels easier driving it, and our ring counts actually went up when we removed the sticks. Like, of course, it's not going to be the same for every team, but for us, it just felt more natural that way.
Cool. Want to move on to the top 5?
Oh, yeah. Starting our top 5 is Team 8644, the Brainstormers from Lexington, Massachusetts. Briefly, the world record holders just a few days ago, they clearly asserted themselves as a powerhouse team this year. Their robot checks all the boxes with a dual intake, bounce back auto, sticks, active wobble intake, a fast, accurate shooter, accurate auto aim, and the list just goes on and on. Their average is only second to 83.93, but I think they have the best auto on the top 25. Definitely one of the best bounce backs in the world.
Definitely agree. I think they had one of the later shows in like over the season. I think they only started competing just a few weeks ago, and just to see how strongly they've come out has been astonishing, really. I personally really love their auto just because of how complex it was and how quickly it was able to accomplish so many different tasks. And just can't wait to see what else they can improve on the robot.
Yeah, definitely one of the top teams every single year. I remember seeing this team in Velocity Vortex 2016 World Championship. They were finalists that year with Cubics and Mechanical Paradox, I believe. They had that dual-sided intake back then, and so they were able to use a lot of those same elements in making a dual-sided intake this year. So it's really cool to see that dual-sided intake come. I know for WIZARDS, at least, that Velocity Vortex dual-sided intake that they made was a big inspiration for their robot. So clear to see one of the top teams. Let's move on to the next rank. And that is the number 4 seed, which is Team 5064, Aperture Science. We just had them on our last show, and you can check out our interview with them on YouTube, youtube.com/FirstUpdatesNow. But this team is just awesome. They've always got simple robots that just work. Even though the North Carolina State Championship wasn't their best event in terms of average score, they were able to score 408 points, an average above 325 points. They're so fast on the field, and I really hope that they get to come out to MTI. I know I saw them at MTI in Relic Recovery and Rover Ruckus, and that was a ton of fun. So really hoping that they come out again to just be interviewed and to have fun.
Yeah, total. Yeah, again, like a team that's always been up there. This season, seasons past. Beautiful robot. Like I don't know what more to say about them. They're just so optimized every way. Like they're the first team to break 400. Like one of the best this year.
Yeah, I mean their interview. I think we interviewed them last week, and it really just showed everything we needed to see about the robot. It really has it all. I don't know what else they can improve, but they're just in one of the most competitive regions this year, which I think is unfortunate for them because otherwise I feel like they have definitely one of the top robots in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, even being in such a competitive region, they have the highest OPR in North Carolina, not at the state championship level, but in North Carolina, and they also. So like they're one of the top teams. I think they have a couple of top 10 scores. According to FTC stats, they don't have any of the top 10 scores because they're all taken up by a couple of other teams, but they are one of the top teams. Let's move on to our number 3 seed.
Yeah, so taking third is 8719 Quantum Leap from Mason, Ohio. Quantum Leap is just insane this year. Everything on the robot is lightning fast and optimized to near perfection. Their intake is a little small compared to other teams on this list, but with their driving and maneuverability, I think it hardly matters. A top 25 list would be totally incomplete without them. Like, pinnacle of optimization right there, just so fast.
Yeah, I gotta say their shooter just blew me away the first time I saw it. Like the first time I saw that video, I feel like I only saw one ring come out, and the fact that they were able to shoot 3 rings that fast just is scary. I really wish that like if some other teams could get that level of speed in their shooting mechanisms, like just the competition would be over. Just their shooting wipes out every other team.
Yeah. Again, they have that linkage mechanism to shoot it out like Overcharged had. And because their drivetrain is so quick, they're not slowed down by turning around, right? Drivers are really good. Got to play with them last year. They had a very similar kind of like a lot of moving components mechanism for their Skystone bot, but I really love this team. All right, want to move on to number 2, Ashray?
Yep. So in the number 2 spot, we have, drumroll please, 7303 ROBOAVATARS from Fremont, California. Being the very first team to cross 500 points solo, I think, these guys have really proven themselves to be very tough competitors on the field. They have 2 arms, which help them block rings, which we've seen as a theme across many other teams as well. And they just have a crazy fast intake and shooting system. I think their scoring strategy is definitely very, very clean because they're able to knock down the rings as they're shooting, so they don't waste any time having to run forward or backwards to pick up rings. So I just think the amount of driver practice that they've done with their human player makes them such a fast robot and an amazing team, and just definitely earns them the spot on in number 2 of our top 25.
Yeah. What's more impressive too is that like I watched their control video and they have like so much crazy software magic going on. It's like, how did they ever do it? And even more impressive still is that they have a video comparing their CAD to the actual robot, and like mostly all of it was free built. Like they're definitely doing something right over there.
Yeah, really cool bot. I think they were one of the first teams I saw with the arms, and the double arms just seems to work well. A little concerned about controlling too many rings, but they seem to be doing fine. Again, a NorCal team. NorCal is going to be a bloodbath. That state championship is going to be absolutely insane. Really excited for it. And now we're in the number 1 spot. I can continue out the meme and just wait and let you all live in suspense on Discord. But I'm going to be nicer than that. And the number 1 seed goes to Team 8393, the giant diencephalic brainstorm robotics team. This team always impresses me. They've got an awesome dual-sided robot with dual intake robot with a turret that can pick up rolling rings. They were able to bring together all of the top strategies into one robot, right? We saw dual-sided intakes. They brought that together. They got the turret. They've got a really fast shooting rate. So overall, tons of awesome things, and they're super tall, so they won't get blocked in in-person competitions. Their OPR is only 10 points away from breaking 500. Like, they are this close to averaging more than 500 points per match. And their world record match of 572 points is being shown right now. They hit the perfect auto with 4 rings, and then you'll just see them when they start shooting. They're going to just be able to pick up rings that come straight out of the chute, and they don't have to really move. So really awesome robot here. The crazy thing with this record is that they don't even go for wobble goals at the end of the match. It's slower for them to go for wobble goals than it is for them to just sit there and shoot, right? They can get 3 rings in, that's 18 points. They just have to get 4 rings in the time that it would take them to do a wobble goal, which they easily do. So they don't have to go for the wobble goals. Only thing that I was a little suspicious about was at one point in the match, they did knock over a ring in front of their robot, and so they had to drive their robot forward to pick up the rings. At that point, the human player stopped depositing rings for about a second or two. Definitely not egregious by any means, but it could have been seen as a little bit giving them an advantage. Anything else you all have to say about this?
Yeah, personally, I was mind blown by this video. I think the truth of this video is that they don't go for those 3 cycles like many other teams are doing. So the fact that they're able to just sit in one spot and just go back and forth and just go boom, 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 and just knock down every single ring that comes in front of them, it's just mind-boggling. I mean, it seems like that wouldn't be too many rings, and they're just scoring 1 ring every once in a while. But at the end of the day, they're able to score, I think, 408 points in teleop alone, which is just and that's not even counting the last 30 seconds of the match. So the fact that they don't have to pick up wobble goals, they don't have to shoot powder shots, really says something about how many rings they're able to score and how quickly they're able to score them.
Yeah, I think this gets close to like chokehold levels about just how powerful that strategy is. Just having the rings come to you and shoot them. And their design too just boggles my mind, because early in the season, I did not think we'd be seeing like dual intakes and turrets being this effective. But clearly with like so much time and so much intelligence on that team, they just made everything perfect. It's incredible to see.
Yeah, I gotta add one last thing. I feel like they're one of the best things on the robot that I think every team is going to try to replicate for their upcoming competitions is their vertical intake. They have one intake on the front, which is their like vertical intake, which can just suck in the rings that are coming in and rolling at them. And the other side is used for picking up the rings in the starter stack and is better for picking up rings that are already laying down. And I think that strategy, just picking up rings as they're rolling, is just so effective this year. The other thing I wanted to mention is that their auto only had like, I think 119 points. So the fact that they were able to score so crazy high with one of the best autos, but not perfect yet, just really says something about how much more space they have to grow. And I think they also missed a couple of shots too. So just increasing the accuracy of the shooter and just improving their auto a little bit, I'm hoping they can cross 600. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, one of the great things about that front shooter intake is it can pick up the vertical rings, but it can also pick up rings that are flat on the ground. And so they have a space. They have enough space. I think they've got a big roller on the front. I'm not 100% sure because older angles don't show it properly. That knocks over the rings and is able to get them in there. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. But I don't know at an in-person competition how useful it's going to be. The fact that they can pick them up flat is what makes that intake so good, right? If you can just pick up vertical, like we saw that one robot, I forget exactly the team number, from North Carolina that was able to just pick up rings that were rolling, and it had to just wipe away any rings that were flat. That's not going to be as effective in person, but with something like this, I think it's both effective virtually and in person. And that's going to wrap up our top 25. Thank you all for voting. Make sure if you didn't see your teams, I know a lot of people didn't see the teams that they wanted, you got to get your votes in. We will send out an updated list with the fixed OPRs once we do that after the show.
We would like to thank our friends at Striker for supporting this video. Stryker is looking for current and future FIRST alumni to join their internship program, and FIRST mentors who are looking for a great career with a company who actually supports their FIRST journey. Go to careers.stryker.com to learn more. You can also directly support Fun by joining Fun Nation. Click the join button, and just for a few bucks a month, you'll unlock special perks and directly support us so we can keep making great content. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to stay up to date on our new videos. Keep the conversation going and provide your input to our content. Watch our live shows at twitch.tv/FirstUpdatesNow, join our Discord at discord.gg/FirstUpdatesNow, and check out Fun FTC on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and First Updates Now on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.